Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Winsome Earle-Sears, said guns are not the problem when it comes to mass shootings. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears joins me now. Your Honor, if it's not guns, what is the problem?
When you look at the newspaper and it tells you that 4 days ago in Florida, a 10-year-old said he wanted to shoot up his school, we have to ask ourselves, what is the 10-year-old really saying? He's saying he wants to murder people. We have to ask ourselves, why is a 10-year-old wanting to murder people? The guns are the means that he wants to use. But understand this, the 10-year-old will find other ways to do what he wants to do. There's something going on in his head, and we've got to figure it out, and we've got to figure it out fast. Today I read my newspaper, and it said that yesterday, a 10-year-old in, I believe it was California, shot her mother's friend because they were in an argument. These are problems that are happening in our families, and if we don't figure this out right quick, we're going to be in deep trouble. So you know that a man, a woman, a child can use a car to plow in. They'll drive over the curb, drive into a crowd, do whatever it is that they want to do, their murderous duty to get whatever it is, effect that they're trying to do. They want to kill people. They will find a way. They can put a Molotov cocktail together and throw it in a crowd. Same thing. You're going to have the same problem.
Would you consider some of the suggestions from Matthew McConaughey in that speech he gave yesterday at the White House? For example, raising the minimum age to buy a weapon to 21 and waiting periods to actually get that weapon. That seemed to me to be kind of a middle-of-the-road idea. Would you support those two things?
I want to hear more about how that's going to work, because here's the thing. If we can put an AR in the hands of an 18-year-old and tell them, go fight for your country, then we have to figure that out as well. What are we saying? When I was 18, 19 years old, I was given a rifle when I was in the Marine Corps, and I was told it was my best friend. I had to pull that thing apart within 2 minutes and know how to use it. So we have to think about what we're doing. Should there be a waiting period? I think so. Should there be some other things? Let's talk about that. But in the meantime, let us ask ourselves, why is this happening? We've got fatherless homes. We've got young men who are joining gangs to get that feeling of belonging, that feeling of somebodyness. We have our society, our families are falling apart. In the family is where society grows. It's where the child learns how to behave, how to be civilized, how to be a responsible citizen. If families are disintegrating, then you see what we have. We've got suicides that are up. We've got drug overdoses are up. For example, in Richmond, up 150%. Things are happening. Let's get to the bottom of it. The gun is just one issue.
May I ask a real fast question on gas prices? Surging in Virginia, of course. $4.77 is your average in that state. Governor Youngkin hinting at maybe cutting the state's gas tax to get the price down. Lieutenant Governor, are you in favor of cutting the gas tax?
Oh, you better believe I am. The people are hurting. And he has tried. He has put it in the budget. The Democrats have stopped him every which way. And they've now sent him another budget that doesn't have any cuts for gas tax. He's going to have to do a line item to see if he can put it back in so we can vote on that again. Well, I don't have a vote, unfortunately, at this time. Well, on the entire budget, I don't, but on the amendment, I do. So we can get some relief for the people. I was just down near a place we call Goshen, and they're suffering down in those places. We need gas tax relief, and we need that now.
What else would you do to get the gas price down? Is there anything we can do in the immediate future? Just get that price down.
Well, if somebody can talk with the president and tell him, we need to open the pipelines, Mr. President. We need to take care of the things here at home that we have control over.
He won't do it.
Stop telling the OPEC countries that they need to reopen.
He won't do it.
Well, then, there's something called elections, and we've got the midterms coming up, and maybe that will give people a clue that the citizens of America are suffering. So we've got to get some things done.
Well, Virginia certainly turned things around last November. I suspect they'll turn it around again this November. Madam Lieutenant Governor?
Yeah, if it's one thing politicians can do, it's they can count. They
Yes.
know how to count votes. And so when we take back the House, then we'll get some things going and some minds changed, because the people want relief at the gas pump.
They sure
it's
do.
Common sense.
Oh, we hear it all the time.
Gas prices are they're infecting everything.
Yep.
Food,
Yep.
They're infecting clothing, the supply side, everything.
Yep, I can hear the exasperation in your voice, and we hear it all the time from our viewers. Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for being with us today. We always appreciate it. Thank you very much.